Hello and welcome to this special edition of The Hub, coming to you live from South China. I'm Wang Guan. Greetings, everyone, from Lian International Education Innovation Pilot Zone in Lingshui County in Hainan Province. Now, this is a big moment as Hainan, the Free Trade Port in South China, is officially launching this special customs arrangement that will allow more goods, services, investments, data, and people move more freely into the island. This is a major policy move demonstrating China's resolve to become more open and inclusive in this new era. But there's a catch, though. Goods and services coming out of the Hainan Islands into Chinese mainland cities will still be subject to Chinese mainland rules. So how will all this work in reality? What will this special customs operation mean for global investors and companies? To dive into all this, we're joined by 4 guests who work and live on this Hainan Island. We have Ruslan Tulinov, Vice Director of the Hainan International Economic Development Bureau. We also have Ms. Laura Netherland, CEO of Tilapia Solutions. We also have Humberto Alvarez Madrela, Vice President of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce for South China. And last but not least, we have Ian Clark, Senior Consultant at the Lian International Education Innovation Pilot Zone. Ruslan, you're very attached to the island of Hainan. Actually, it was a dream come true for you to work between China and Central Asian companies, to be a spokesperson, to be a bridge builder, and you did it all. Tell us about how you feel as Hainan becomes a free trade port, but not only. It has this special customs arrangement.
I've been living here in China for 17 years. I'm just a normal person, very young person from Kazakhstan, Central Asia. I choose to study here in Hainan, and I'm right now working in the very good organization called Hainan Provincial Bureau of International Economic Development as the first foreigner. Which is already means that the governmental statutory organization allows the foreigner to work, to contribute for the Hainan's development. And as a dream come true, when 6 years ago I moved back to Hainan from Beijing, I really dreamed of this date when the Hainan will make the big step to the globalization, when the new policies, when the new rules comes into the effect. Since the beginning, back in 2019, my main job was to attract the investment, to promote the policies, interpretation, to help those foreign and Chinese companies to set up their footprint here in Hainan. From the whole, the basic things like the company registration, everything I did till now. A lot of people ask me, saying that, what is Hainan Free Trade Port actually? From my understanding, Hainan is like, I compare Hainan as 40 years ago, China's Shenzhen, when the first China's opening up reforms has happened. And nowadays you see Shenzhen from 40 years ago as a fishing village, now is just a world headquarters for the all innovation, And Hainan right now is the second opening up reforms for China, for the foreign world, to bring all those foreign and Chinese companies and talents to benefit from the China's development. So my dream actually came true. Now Hainan made the first big step to become as a Chinese characteristic free trade port. And I'm really looking forward to see even more companies and even more talents to be as me here, develop, grow together in Hainan.
You kept saying that Hainan made your dream come true, and I should add that you made Hainan's dream come true as well, making the island more international and globally oriented. Lara, great to have you with us. Actually, you lived on the island for 8 years now, first as a reporter covering this island, and now as an entrepreneur connecting Chinese and African businesses. Tell us about your thoughts and feelings at this special moment as this island goes full operational with this special customs arrangement.
Thank you so much for that question, Wang Guan. And for sure, special customs operations is the next big but very important milestone for Hainan. As for myself, I would say when I arrived here 8 years ago, my professional growth and career development has very much been synonymous with Hainan's development. And so I arrived here on the 6th of April, 2018.
Remember that day?
Yeah. And 1 week later, on the 13th of April 2018, that was when Chinese President Xi Jinping announced the plans to build Hainan into an international standard free trade zone. And so at the time, I didn't have insights into how deeply I would be involved and engaged with Hainan's development. But I had a first hand in terms of reporting on the front line on Hainan's business environment and policies. And now I very much look forward to special customs operations as an entrepreneur within the private sector. And I think, there's definitely been some interesting developments in recent months and some things that many entrepreneurs, especially within trade spaces, are looking forward to seeing actualize after special customs operations, yes.
Yeah, we all look forward to actualization as it happens, how this idea is now, of course, obviously translating into policy, but how this policy will translate into business opportunities, tax dollars, not only, but also bottom line for businesses. That's perhaps the most important thing. Umberto, you work in South China for quite a while, connecting Chinese and Spanish and European companies. What are the things that you're most excited about as we're marking this very important moment?
First of all, thank you very much for having me here today. What I'm most excited about, I think as Ruslan mentioned, the opportunities here is comparable of what happened in Shenzhen 40 years ago. And I think this new operations, border operations that is going to start today, it's a huge step on the right direction. It actually makes this project real after so many years. It's like, okay, now it's happening. Now let's see where it takes us.
Ian, you're in education. That is, of course, the most important thing because we're turning out leaders of not just today, but tomorrow. What are the things that you anticipate the most as the island becomes a very, even more special area?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's nice to be here. I think the opening up in the special customs operations gives a new impetus to education because we must look on this as Hainan has now become not only one of the big educational playgrounds, as an educator, playgrounds in China, but also perhaps in the world. And education is one corner of that playground. And part of that is that we have to support and get the talent that we need in to support the development of the new companies coming in to Hainan, but also as well to get the educators we also need to create the skills and attitudes that we need to help it grow from its new position. I think this is a very important time for the education sector in Hainan because this is our moment to shine and take it forward into the next era of the development of Hainan.
People always say that the devil is in the details, and that's true because if you look at this special customs operation, there's so many components to it. One component is freer access for foreign companies and investors to come into the island. But there is a catch to it that is leading to the second line of thought, as was enunciated by the policymakers, that is, regulated access from the Hainan Island onwards to the Chinese mainland, because both parts belong to one sovereign China. And then the third component is, free flow within the Hainan Island. What do you think all this will transpire into? How should global investors understand this policy and these policy details, Ruslan?
Since I do the policy interpretation for the foreign companies, it's always depends on the sector that they are doing business. Just to take an example, consumer products, for example, right? So, which is driven for the import and export. Hainan right now is developing itself as a tourism and consumption destination. We have around 100 million tourists coming from mainland and from abroad to the Hainan. And since we have a lot of tourists and then there is a lot of high net worth individuals coming to Hainan, our duty-free policies is emerging very fast. We have right now currently in the island around 12 duty-free stores, 7 duty-free operators. All of the foreign famous brands are located in Hainan and they are selling very good. They're making a lot of money. Since they do make money, from my understanding, they will consider on doing even more in this market. So just to say, and as an example, those companies that I provided the services, back in 2022, I have helped to set up some American companies like the large beauty company, I would not mention the name, to set up their China travel retail headquarters here in Hainan. They do have a team right now here. They're selling very good. And besides establishing their trading entity here, they're going even forward because of the good policies, making money for them. They're even considering to place their supply chain industry here, having their own warehouse, stocking their warehouse with their products. And from Hainan, they will supply to the other regions of China. And in the future, with these policies, they can supply to the Southeast Asia countries. For me, it's not only about like to help them to make money here. What I really want is that the foreign companies, once they make money, they can consider to establish even more industries here, help us to grow our economy over here. So before in Hainan, we always wanted that the goods can come directly from Europe to Hainan. You know, before there was, going to from other parts of China, coming to Hainan. But right now, a lot of companies who are being established here, they can directly freight their goods directly to Hainan. So which also helps us to grow our import-export, right? So this is for the consumer market that I want to mention. And secondly, you were mentioning about the, so right now we have like around 6,600 categories of the products, which is like raw materials can be imported by the Hainan companies from overseas.
That would be duty free.
It's a zero tariff, zero VAT, zero consumption tax.
They account for some 74% of all potential goods.
More than 70%, which is 6,600 in the categories of the whole imported products to China, right? So in Hainan, it's exempted. 6,600 is exempted. And what is the benefit for those? By the local companies established in Hainan, they can do the processing of the goods, of the raw materials. So the policy is mentioned that the processing value added 30% product can be imported from Hainan to mainland and exempt from the import tariff, right? So right now there is many companies already benefiting from this policy. Several companies, they import the meat, like beef, raw beef, and they do the processing here in Hainan in their own local factories to the other like already fabricated products. And they can sell it to the mainland China without import tariff.
But they have to increase the value by 30% so that they will go duty free to the Chinese customers in Beijing where I live, or in Shanghai or Chengdu.
Exactly.
And to other Southeast Asian countries,
right?
Not just to Chinese mainland, anywhere. It has such a unique geographical advantage in that sense. If you look at its geographical position in terms of Southeast Asian countries. So I think that's definitely going to deepen the ties between China and Southeast Asian countries, but through Hainan.
And another industry I can see the emerging development is actually the jewelry industry. So for the many different jewelry gems, the stones and the gold and many others, the import tariff to the China market is very high. So nowadays we can see that a lot of big Chinese companies who are focused on the jewelry industry, they have already set up their industrial parks here, right? In Sanya, in Haikou, in many places. And they see that opportunity when they import those raw materials to make a jewelry to Hainan, and then they process it, and they can sell it to the mainland China without import tariff. Plus, additionally, if you're located in Hainan, the corporate income tax is 15%, personal income tax is 15%, they can benefit. And third, when they establish their factory, all those equipments that they import from the overseas for their own use are also exempted from the tariff. So companies, they really saving a lot of cost. And of course, it emerged that the product will be much more cheaper to the Chinese consumers.
You're saying that the Chinese companies can be potentially beneficiaries as well?
Any company.
Lara, so what do you think this special customs operation will offer in a unique way to African businesses and investors?
I would start with a suggestion, and that would be that Hainan, as a special economic zone, should look at making ties with other special economic zones around Africa if we really want to deepen regional cooperation and so forth. However, I would say within my consultancy business, one of the advantages that Hainan has to offer is that in cases, and I'm in the new energy sector, right? So I'm backed by very solid and reliable Chinese partners, and our factories are in Chinese mainland. So often I do need to receive our clients or partners from the African side at those factories. However, we have just recently opened a factory in Hainan. And in terms of visa processing, when that is a bit of an obstacle for our clients or partners in Africa, I'm told that this visa-free list will expand to more countries after special customs operations. So that's also going to allow us to receive our clients in Hainan, but we can also showcase some of our new energy projects, which we've done around here. And then I would say another advantage is for example, we've seen some zero tariff movements of goods, right, in and out of the island recently. Hainan just had its first batch of zero tariff coffee, which was imported from Colombia by a company based here and then processed here and exported to Australia. So our business, we've also been responsible for procuring coffee beans from Kenya for one of our Chinese clients. And this client is also looking at setting up operations here in Hainan. So I believe that Hainan is going to be a gateway for some of those products before they enter Chinese mainland market area. But, you know, there's really so much advantage it has to offer. And I agree with Ruslan in that you really need to look at what kind of sectors they are in and what kinds of policies they can potentially leverage and how they can either capitalize on those policies or reduce their costs. And sometimes there's policies that offer reducing costs along the whole value chain, or thereby make, you know, the whole value chain more profitable. We have a very close relationship with the company in Boao Lecheng International Medical Tourism Pilot Zone, which is one of the 13 industrial parks. And this company, I have amazing respect for the CEO who came to Hainan in 2021 and found these policies and was so deeply inspired that he delved deep into that and set up a service providing company in Boao Lecheng. And he has got such a comprehensive business model. And you see how that benefits all the stakeholders. So, for example, the policies in Hainan have to be the most open in comparison with other special economic zones around China. But we have to integrate with other special economic zones, with other countries that China is deeply tied to in terms of trade. So this business model, they use the policy in Boao Lecheng to be able to bring in international medical devices and pharmaceuticals and land it directly in Boao Lecheng. So the policy is that if it has FDA or CE approval, it can land directly there. But then there's an additional benefit, which is that real-world clinical research can be conducted there. Basic medicine in China is excellent, but we are slightly behind in terms of innovative medicine because it takes so long to obtain NMPA approval, sometimes up to 5 years. By that time, the international market has other products that are highly competitive. But what Boao Lecheng allows is for these pharmaceuticals, innovative devices to be directly used on patients. So patients from Chinese mainland or wherever can come and access these high-end medical treatments here. And that research is then used to apply for NMPA approval, like across Greater China, I could say. That benefits Chinese mainland in terms of bringing more innovative medicines to China. And then it also benefits patients because they're able to access high-end medical care. And I know that Chinese President Xi Jinping recently reviewed the progress on Hainan. And one of the suggestions he made is that we have to integrate with like the GBA area, right? And so we have active examples of how this is being done. For example, with this company, on one hand, they landed in Boao Lecheng, and that has a very specific policy to Hainan. But in GBA or in Guangdong area, it's such a huge population. And I think this is where we see that the Chinese market and Chinese population is just as important to other international markets, as our Chinese products are important to countries abroad and so on. From a sales perspective, land those products in the GBA area, you just can't conduct the real-world clinical research. So from a sales perspective, leveraging the policy in GBA area is an advantage, but from an actual, I would say, framework and regulation perspective, you need to utilize the one that is the most open, which is it needs to land in Bo-ao-le-cheng first so that it can go through real-world clinical research and have a fast-track process for NMPA approval. There are many examples of how these policies can be used for different kinds of businesses and entrepreneurs, and that's just one of them.
Yeah. Laura, it's so good to hear all those stories demonstrating synergies between Hainan and its foreign partners, but not only. Between Hainan and with Greater Bay Areas as well. So Umberto, European Union and Spain are such important partners of China, potentially even more so as geopolitical competition intensifies. So how do you expect the Spanish and the European businesses to benefit from this special customs operation in Hainan?
This special economic barrier that is being removed, like really making products travel free to Hainan, also comes with advantage that is a right step on the way to a more free financial services and banking services. That's what most people is more excited about to happen in Hainan if we get there. Giving the possibility to companies to operate freely on their banking system as they can from Hong Kong or Singapore. That's what most companies are waiting before actually decide to disembark in Hainan Free Trade Port.
Very good. It's not just financial sectors, but people are at the center of things. And the policymakers made it very clear that the freer movement of people, of talents, are of ultimate importance to this special customs operation. So Ian, on that regard, what are your expectations?
We've got very high expectations, I think, in the education sector. As I say, education is going to be the cornerstone of supporting any new businesses to come here. We need to have talents coming in, and we need to have talents coming in from abroad too. And easy visa procedures, one-stop services, these are all things that help us. But of course, Hainan has also got to package itself that we are a core item here for education. And we need to make sure that we encompass ourselves as a parcel of everything we need to help develop the economy, as well as get the talents in to do this. And it's from both sides, teachers and students. We've got to get the students come in who provide the talent for the future as well for the companies. And we've also get the talent in, the world-class professors that we need to help move this forward into this part. There are some very special policies for education in Hainan. So, for example, it's okay for a foreign university to come here and establish without a Chinese partner in our pilot zone. So you don't need to have a Chinese partner. We've got one example already. Bielefeld University from Germany has came here and established their own school without a Chinese partner in the pilot zone. This helps them bring in talent as well from these European countries that are coming in from the UK, and they're flying them in at the moment, and also from Germany. And they're leveraging the requirements and the degrees and the expertise and the vocations that Hainan Port needs to develop into the future when these companies that these experts are talking about come in here. So we've got to be prepared for this, and we've got to be in advance of this to make sure that our graduates have got Hainan-specific education to help the growth. And we hope that the opening up and the border, the customs border, and all the policies they put in here can help us get these talents into the pilot zone.
So how far away from that target? I mean, you're working on the education sector in this special education zone as we speak, where our panel is speaking at this very site. How far away from that target?
I think we've made good progress. I think the pilot zone here in Lian has been well prepared. I think we're moving forward. We need time for the policies to take hold and for them to be understood throughout the wider world. And of course, I say we have to package everything and make sure that people know about this too. But also the model that we've given here in the pilot zone also supports this. So for example, we've got the big sharing in the small colleges. This makes it easier for universities to come and establish partnerships here.
Big
in the
sharing,
pilot zone.
small colleges. What does that mean?
It means if you go to, for example, we've got a lovely library here and we've got an absolutely massive, wonderful sports centre. So the universities come and they establish their own small colleges. Now they maintain their own spirit, their own logo, and they work through the programs that they wish to deliver to help support the Hainan's development in the free port. But at the same time, they have immediate access to all these facilities. They are already here. They've got shared cafeterias, shared libraries, shared sports centres, shared stadiums. All these things, this infrastructure is here to support this move and bring it forward very easily for universities who actually want to come here. So I think we've made good progress in this. And I think the pilot zone itself provides the best opportunity that I have probably seen anywhere in the world at the moment to come and establish colleges in one place to help support the development of a free trade port that is being established. And it's probably going to be one of the best educational exercises that we will probably see in the world. And I think people will be doing case studies about this for a very long time into the future.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
Now, Ruslan, there are so many unanswered questions, so many details to be answered. For example, how can you really prevent smugglers, which exist everywhere in the world, to buy low here in Hainan and sell high on the Chinese mainland, for example, or for those companies, foreign companies who can potentially cook the book, taking advantage of this 30% rule. How can those challenges be overcome, and what are the potentially risk factors associated?
I mean, this kind of risks happens everywhere where the new innovation is happening. There is always some, gap to be by someone to be used, right? But what I can say is that Hainan has massively invested in the infrastructure for the last 5-6 years. Like we have built those new facilities, new equipments has been done in the second line that we mentioned, which is connects the Hainan to the mainland, right? So those kind of customs equipments, they really, I believe, will be very effective in the controlling the flow of the goods, to prevent the smuggling. Secondly, you're mentioning about the 30% value-added products. Those 30% value-added products is also, I think, very well controlled by the customs. There is a special calculation. The goods needs to be, when they do the processing, there needs to be some kind of way of doing the thing by using the technology. Not like just, for example, you bring the beef, you cut it, and that's it. No. Of course, there needs to be, and there is a special calculations for that. And maybe one day, if you come to Hainan again, I can showcase you some factories, and you will see by your own eyes how the people are doing those processes, and you will see how the products are being done in Hainan and being sold to the mainland China. Overall, with the it's just the first step, big step to the success, to the to build the Hainan as a very mature free trade port. 2025 is just the beginning. For our plan for Hainan by the China State Council and everyone, the plan by 2050 to be mature free trade port. So we have timeline 25, first step, 2035, and then 2050 is our ultimate goal when the island would become really very globalized free trade port. And currently what we're lacking, of course, is a volume. we're not lacking the volume from the Chinese tourists, we're from the Chinese companies. We're not lacking because we know that the Chinese companies, will be the first when they see there is opportunity to make money or, those kind of things. Right now, we are lacking of the volume of the foreign companies, foreign tourists. And for that, we really need to strive our best to invite more companies to really see the potential of the Hainan. As I already mentioned, there is a lot of successful cases that I'm just replicating from. I'm the companies that I have from the beginning till the end. I have helped them to set up their companies here, and there is a lot of cases. It's just right now we just need to materialize the policies. Need to be settled down. Companies need to see that there is really will be the good effect for them. There is also some industries which are very complicated that really needs a long supply chain. Currently, we're also lack of supply chain right now. For some products, the foreign companies, they usually procure from mainland, because of the cost and everything, So, but okay. Now, what we are doing step by step, we are bringing those chains to Hainan slowly. Like, for example, the foreign company, foreign brand, they produce, but a lot of parts are coming from China. So we are trying to bring those parts, which is coming from China, to Hainan. Then the brand owner or the product owner could come to Hainan to do the final product.
An underwater data center. This is not a fantasy or a Hollywood movie. It is a reality here in South China. I'm in Lingshui County, South China's Hainan province, beautiful island province. And I'm actually standing above the world's first underwater commercial computing center anywhere in the world. It is saving water, electricity, and resources. But the question is, how does it work in reality? Let's go check it out. Hello， 杨老师您好。
你好。
非常高兴来到海南。我听说这个海底数据中心是全世界第一个商用的海底数据中心，对不对？
是的，是的。
为什么要在海底建数据中心呢？有哪些优势？
一个是我们省电，我们通过这种海水的无动力的冷却循环做到我们相比陆地上同等规模的数据中心有30%左右的一个电能的一个节省。像按照我们国内目前的这种标准的话，应该能支撑1万多户家庭1个月的用电，
还是很可观的。
是的另外我们是省水。现在陆地上的机房的制冷，它需要配套的大型的冷却塔通过淡水的蒸发，把机房内部产生的热量带走。陆地上的机房一般是用1度电会消耗1.5升左右的淡水。我们海底数据中心通过海水的冷却是节约了淡水的资源，这个是第二个优势。还有个优势是它的土地资源的一个节省。您可以看到我们海底数据中心大部分的设施都是在海底的，那岸上的占地面积是很小的。同等规模的情况下，我们只有陆地上数据中心土地资源的1/5。
我们现在就在这里边，对不对？
对，就在这，
就这个岸站。
对，就在这边。
如果不是海底的话，要在陆基的话，可能需要5倍这样的
5倍这样的一个
现在只需要一个我们现在所在的一个
小房子，是的。
In June 2020, China released a master plan to build the whole of Hainan Island into a globally influential and high-level free trade port by the middle of the century. 1 year later, the first commercial underwater data center demonstration project was approved and established in Hainan. And the year after that, the world's first commercial underwater data center was delivered and put into operation in Lingshui Li Autonomous County, Hainan. And fast forward to early 2025, the world's first commercial underwater intelligent computing cluster is born. 其实说到海底数据中心我们很多人可能会担忧一个问题，就是说把这么多算力中心或者说叫数据中心放到了海底，运维的成本会不会相应的增加？
平时在值班的时候，我们就是2个人
只需要2个人。
对，日常的运营过程中的一些工作都是通过我们海底的 传感器监控设备将相关的运行的情况回传到陆地上，我们进行一个实时的一个监控。
其实海底的生物链是非常微妙的，所有的动物呢都有相互依存。那我们在海底用这么一大片海床这么一大片地方来容纳这些数据中心，会不会对海洋生物甚至说生物链造成一些破坏？
我们进行了这个环境相关的一些评估因为我们数据中心呢放在海底，会导致水的升温那么我们经过测试，我们以海底数据中心为圆心2到3米之外，基本就没有任何的一个温升是0.01几度。
梁老师，这个监测系统是做什么的？
如果说有船只或者是其他的海上的目标进到我们海底数据中心的一些比如说核心区域在这边有停留我们会飞无人机或者是开快艇出去做一些驱离。我们海底数据中心呢，其中有一个用途是做 CDN 的 ，CDN 的全称叫内容分发网络您可以理解为它是一个像您平时电脑的缓存一样。现在的智算我们跟北京进行合作了像智算的这种算力服务就是咱们现在经常听到的这个人工智能的应用您问一个问题，它要快速的去给你生成一个答案的时候，它其实用的也是机房里面的智能算力服务。
A smart brain in the sea, a fusion of marine engineering and data infrastructure. Lingshui has become a key region of the Hainan FTP with its crucial role in the layout of international communication networks. Its coastal area is now home to several international cable landing stations connecting systems such as the Asia Link cable and CH2X. With the official launch of FTP's customs operations, demand for data storage and computing power from international market is expected to grow even further. Hainan is looking forward to building an ecosystem that fosters the island province as a hub for cross-border and international exchanges in computing power. To what extent is industrialization or high-end industrialization is a target for the island of Hainan? Because you don't want to change Hainan from a touristy vacation resort into a full-fledged industrial town.
Right, but when we are speaking about the industrial town, of course, we are focusing on the high-end products, because right now we're living in such a beautiful island, which is the only tropical island province in China with the best climate.
Well, we got quite a few to the east and down south, but this is one of the most beautiful.
Right, and then when you do the industrialization, you don't want to ruin up the environment here. The whole Hainan province is being very selected when we invite the companies. What kind of product they're going to do? Is it going to harm our environment? Is it going to harm our air? Because we still want to keep the very best air quality. Just to mention. One of the successful, that industry that is really, I think, is really developing and then contributing to the GDP of Hainan is actually located in the west side of the Hainan, where there is a port called Yangpu port, which is also the economic zone. Right now, we have the special petrochemical, gasochemical industry park over there. There is a lot of right now new companies have set up their factories to do the new materials producing. New materials, for example, coming from the oil, coming from the gas, those PTEs that we use for the plastics. Those, for example, asphalt bitumen, those kind of materials has been developing in Hainan in that part, which is already like a whole chain of the one industry is already very strong over there.
Now, I'm so glad you brought up that port, Ruslan, because it's one of the sites that me and my team had visited not so long ago here in Hainan. It's a modern port, it's a smart port, and it's certainly a fascinating one. Let's roll the tape. I'm standing across from Yangpu port. Now, this isn't just a port. This is the heart of Hainan Free Trade Zone and China's new frontier of openness. With a port expansion and special customs operation, Yangpu now handles over 70% of island's total imports. It is fast becoming a hub for global shipping companies, and for good reason. First of all, there is this policy advantage. After special customs operation, zero tariff policy will cut trade costs and cut trade costs big time. Ships can refuel with bonded oil, saving about 15% on fuel savings passed directly to clients. Second of all, there's this smart operations. This isn't just a port, as we said, it is an intelligent hub with full smart systems. Gate transit time is slashed online, services run 24/7, and custom clearance is 50% faster thanks to a system known as single declaration, single inspection, and single release. And the reach as well, 58 shipping routes, 32 international, 18 domestic, and 8 integrated. East to the Americas, west to India and Pakistan, and down south to Southeast Asia. Just 12 hours to Vietnam, under 4 days to Singapore. And that route keeps adding. Recently, new direct routes to South America cut logistics time by 7 to 10 days, from South American copper and fruit and coffee beans to Hainan's tropical produce and electronics. Goods flow, and they flow faster and smarter. So what does openness look like in Hainan? The secret perhaps lies all behind me, in the speed of the cranes, the flow of containers, and the rhythm of ships arriving and departing. The plan is to make Yangpu not just a port, but a global intelligent hub connecting China, ASEAN, and the rest of the world. Lara, for this special customs arrangement to be truly operational, not just on paper, but in reality, what challenges do you anticipate? And what would be your advice on overcoming those potential sticking points, if not choke points?
On one hand, I think it takes a deep and comprehensive understanding of how policies can be used. There are certain thresholds and standards that need to be met and able to leverage some of these policies. I think for international stakeholders to come and play a bigger role in Hainan's economic development, we still need to see some fine-tuning that allows some international stakeholders to deeply engage with Hainan's environment. So I look forward to seeing that, but I must also say that the policymakers have done an outstanding job over the past few years. We've seen so many developments. We're seeing a lot more freeness and openness in terms of free flow of people, free flow of capital. And that also solves a lot of problems for us who are within the trade space. For example, when there's international transactions, if you have an account set up in Hainan, receiving money from abroad is more streamlined. And so that also helps us in terms of our international and trade business. But definitely, this has been the foundational phase for Hainan the past few years. So I think what was critical, like Rizlan mentioned, there was a lot of investment in the hardware and software operations. And then we saw how our 13 industrial parks grew. And many of the policies, when they first came out, they were not rolled out to the entire island. They had to undergo stress testing in areas like Danzhou Yangpu Economic Circle in Bo'ao Lecheng before they rolled out to the rest of the island. And the special customs operation is going to be the milestone where some of those policies are then released to the entire island. I think those stress tests were incredibly important for the policymakers to observe where some of them need to be tailored and streamlined, and where there needs to be tightening or loosening on certain regulations.
Say Chinese students are actually incredibly innovative. They just need...
Yeah, in the core, yes, I think.
Yes, they are. They just need the encouragement to bring that innovation forward. Well, I've been here in Hainan for 4 years. I'm just coming up to my 4th year.
Okay.
But, when I was here, none of these buildings were really here at the beginning.
So Ian, what a stadium. I mean, it looks big and with a good capacity.
Yeah, this stadium's, it's an absolutely beautiful stadium. And it's a wonderful piece of architecture. Another thing is that this is open to every institution here as part of the big sharing, including the independent institutions who come here without a Chinese partner. They also have access to all these facilities, and they have got their own idea of how they want to run their sports events and things too. So Bielefeld University, for example, who's our first independent institution, they can come here.
From Germany?
Yes, from Germany, and they can come. If they've got German students over, they can play football against the Chinese students. It's wonderful.
Competition on the sports field, cooperation in academic arenas. In the end, it is the students who benefit.
因为现在就是比较热门的话，就是说人机协同如何去和AI 一起去协作，其实是一个比较重点去发展的一个方向。
Everything is oriented towards the future. In the age of artificial intelligence, talent development requires a more open learning ecosystem.
在这个校区有一个非常大的特点，就是有各种学校开设的共享课。比如说，如果我想更加精进于代码方面，我不仅可以上中国传媒大学的代码课，我还可以参加这个园区的共享课。
现在电脑可以记录你的动作，身体猛地转身，眼睛瞪大地看着对方。3、2、1，开始。
Now, I must say, these teenagers at CUC Hainan College is doing something fascinating and amazing. They're putting this gear on me with 50 sensors. So what this does is to collect my movements, my traits, my emotions, so that they will put everything in this software to train future robots, so that the robots will be as human as possible.
This is our library.
Beautiful.
It's a wonderful library, isn't it? Just look at the architecture. It's just fantastic.
So this is the so-called waterfall.
I call it
guide?
the waterfall of books. I call
Waterfall
it.
of books?
Yeah, it's a book waterfall.
Amazing.
So what you can do here is you can actually scroll through the books that are available to you, and they just roll around.
Water and earth.
Yes. So
Beautiful.
This is a lovely way for students to come in and just choose a book on their own. And you're able to get the electronic version of the book by doing this.
Let's see. You put your book where? Here?
Yes. Put your book here and it'll scan it. And you can use your code as well, your card.
Right.
So this is almost like self-service.
This is the English language section.
Yeah, and it's
Fantastic.
quite large, isn't it?
It was my favorite back in my college days.
We're right. Well, this is a wonderful collection they're building here. So this is more than just a library. We should look at it as a central knowledge hub, not just for us, but perhaps for the whole of Hainan as well, as we are trying to create the talent that is needed to drive the businesses forward. Because it's about people too.
Now, Ian, I mean, what does it take to build comparative advantage for the education innovation zone that you're in to truly attract global students and global young talents, to make them, truly want to come to Hainan Island to study as a study abroad student, over Beijing, over Shanghai, or over Xi'an?
Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult question, a very large question. I think one of the things is that I referenced earlier was we've got to change the way we think about how we package ourselves. Hainan has to package itself to the world very differently. For a university to come here and think they're going to offer a standard degree that you can get anywhere else, it's not going to really help Hainan. There has to be something special to bring them here. They've got to see opportunities. They've got to see the chance. I'm coming to Hainan. I'm going to have a life here after it. It's the same with the professors and talent coming to teach as well.
But we observed a trend whereby there are less American and European, Western European students studying in China over the past 4 or 5 years, and more Global South students, significantly more of them studying in Chinese cities, in Hainan as well. Of course, it doesn't only have to do with, China itself, but if you look at the U.S. State Department, they have an advisory warning American students not to go to China. They said China is a reconsidered travel destination. Do you think China needs to attract more Western students, and if so, how?
I think we're beginning to see progress in how people see Hainan. I think Hainan's had much more exposure into the Western world since, the press has been reporting on it more and more. People I've been meeting from Western countries have been saying, oh yeah, I've heard a little something. So the word is getting out there. But I think there needs to be very specific policies done with this. As I say, it's not just about coming to be educated in China. It's about actually coming to have success in China. I think we really need to put this forward to the Western world. And sometimes people don't really have the full facts about the opportunities here. And the opportunities that do present themselves. And I think, for example, we've got shared curriculums at the moment. So students coming, for example, one university can also study things on the shared curriculum from another university. So students themselves are actually doing a lot of personal development, and they're getting the skills that they feel they need to also take out into the communities here in Hainan. And there's things like internships, which I feel are not being pushed enough at the moment. And also some research that could be very specific to Hainan. So there are lots of opportunities there. I think the biggest problem, as I came back to the original thing I said, is packaging it. How do we sell it? How do we get that forward so people truly understand the opportunities exist here? Because I think the opportunities are actually vast. I think the people coming from Western countries do not realize just how big an economic development we are experiencing here in Hainan. And I think that's part of the things that perhaps we all must do. It's not just for the education system to do, it's also for the businesses to do as well. And I think we've got to work together with enterprise, with government, and with education to try and get these messages forward to the wider world.
Yeah. Now we have time for one last round of closing thoughts, very brief. Your wishes for this special customs operation and for this very beautiful island as we move forward with this very important experiment. Ruslan, starting from you.
Okay, so just to continue the topic of what Yin and Lara said, Hainan, as the young talents are very important as a driver of the whole province development in the future. So the Hainan right now should become an innovation hub, incubator for those young talents. I just wanted to add this part.
Now, Lara.
Some closing thoughts. I think it's incredibly important to have a deep understanding of Hainan Free Trade Port's structural frameworks and the policies, because again, it depends on what kind of business models we're looking at in terms of entrepreneurs or business owners or big corporate groups that want to come and set up here and leverage some of the advantages. And it doesn't only stop there. I would recommend reaching out to a consultancy that has a deep understanding of this business environment, but can also connect you to the right resources in the private and public space that will allow you to further leverage the economic growth that China and Hainan has to offer. I think that's still very much important. It's not always a copy and paste approach for every business model. Sometimes the solutions or the models that you design need to be tailored for that specific business. And so I think for the four of us who had the advantage of setting up in Hainan very early, who got to see its growth, we have an advantage. And if you do want to leverage the policies and advantages that Hainan has to offer, I would say better do it sooner than later.
For the last 5 years, Hainan has been working slowly, silently to this goal, to get to this point today. Now is the crucial point. Now is the hype. Now CGTN is paying attention to us. So now it comes the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And now is when it's a crucial point because all of us, government, consultants, education, press, we have to step up and make sure that everything is up to the standards and that we can keep up with the pace of the people coming and the companies coming and the requirements and what they need.
Very good.
I just want to add to that, and I think we share that stance as well from a consultancy perspective, is that the departments have also been very much open to our feedback in terms of, approaching special customs operations. Where do we need a little bit more openness and some tailoring, and have welcomed our feedback. And I'm really grateful for that. And I acknowledge that because I think we are going to need to listen to feedback from people who are actively involved here. Yeah.
Oh, my final thoughts. I think we need for education to look at the education enterprise dynamic. I think now is the time for education and enterprise to work very closely together, for enterprise to tell us what they need, and for education to look at itself and see how can we help provide that expertise, that incubation, the entrepreneurship, local entrepreneurship, not just foreign entrepreneurship as well, that comes into the system to help the growth of the Hainan Free Trade Port. So I think now is the important dynamic. Government, enterprise, and definitely education have to work very closely together now to make sure that as everybody is on board to achieve the targets that we've all set for each other. Because I think we all will be setting targets, and I think these targets will change as policies develop. Because I think you're right, policies will continue to change. And I think that's something we need to do more now. Otherwise, we might miss something. And I'm afraid, I'm very scared that we miss something because the opportunity that is presented to us is enormous. I've never seen an opportunity like this in an education industry, and certainly to work so closely with enterprise as well. So I think we should seize every chance to work together, get enterprises to come in and help us, help education to understand and teach us and teach our students as well. I think there's an element there that needs to be done. We ought to be leveraging the expertise within the companies to help us grow within the education industry as well. So I'm very hopeful that this can work forward.
On that hopeful note, we come to the end of this special edition of The Hub, coming to you from Lingshui County in South China's Hainan province. I want to thank our wonderful panelists for their fascinating insights and ideas of making this special customs operation an even more successful one. And we can't thank you enough. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Hub. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for having us, Wang Guan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.